My name is Alex Boz. I run the Ausretrogamer.com website and obviously the social media channels as well. And part of that, I guess, it's purely for the love of retro gaming. And retro gaming encompasses video gaming and also pinball, which I'm into quite heavily. And also put on events like the Classic Gaming area at PAX every year. So unfortunately, we won't be there for 2021 for obvious reasons, but sorry, for 2020. But hopefully, yeah, back in 2021, yeah, all going well.
Yeah. So why retro?
Why retro? I have always, obviously, when I started playing video games, I never actually thought about playing stuff that I played 4 or 5 years ago. But as time went on, starting off with, I had a Hanamex 666T, which was a Pong machine. I begged my parents to get an Atari, but it was way too expensive back in the early 80s. And then, went on to the Commodore 64 and the Atari ST. Then I went the Amiga, but by then Amiga was pretty much dying. And even though I was actually going through the new generations like the PlayStations, and I never got the Sega Saturn at the time, I've got one now. I chose a PlayStation, and then the Nintendo 64, but I always kept on going back to play some older games because it was always something to go back to and remember the good times I had as a kid playing, I don't know, Super Mario or Green Beret on the Commodore 64, which was rock hard. And as the games became more complex with the newer generations, I sort of didn't have time to put in a lot of, I guess, time to play them. And I thought, well, I'd rather just pick up something that I can play for a bit. 3 lives, I'm done, move on. And being an arcade player, I was always used to a quick game. 3 lives, I'm done. Adventure gaming, which I did do or did play back in the early 80s, I sort of lost interest in that because it meant I had to invest a lot of time. And I know you spoke to Serbia as well, and the load times on some of these games was unbelievable. And I know we've got updates now when we actually put on games, but back then, I remember playing America's Cup, Arnie Amster's America's Cup on the Commodore 64, and it took 48 minutes to load. And if you didn't adjust that head properly, you'll come back after 48 minutes and go, oh, okay, it's still scrambling, it's still on the screen. So, yep, rewind the tape and change the head, press play again, go outside, play cricket, shoot some hoops, come back and then eagerly await to actually play. And I would always play long sessions if I had someone with me. On my own, I would play, but the really long sessions, like playing overnight with friends, it was, yeah, if they were actually in the room with me. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then around the early 2000s, started working full time, and there was less time for video games, and I sort of I lost touch. So between around 2000, 2002, I sort of lost touch with playing video games, and then I saw the Xbox and Halo, and I thought, oh my Lord. And that actually brought me back into playing, I guess, the new generation games. And as time went on, I thought, you know what, I really, really miss playing like Super Mario World on on the Super Nintendo, and some of the older Commodore 64 games. And I'd always kept my Commodore 64 stuff. And unfortunately, I'd sold everything else that I had. And then I thought, oh, you know what, I actually want the Dreamcast. So, I love all the Sega arcade games, and predominantly they were on the Dreamcast. So I got that. And then the PlayStation 3 came out. I actually had no interest in it at the time. And I just kept on looking on eBay and going, oh yeah, the NES or Atari 2600, which I never had. I want one now, and they were always cheap. And I thought to myself, is anyone else doing this? I didn't know anything about. And obviously, being in the mid 2000s, there wasn't really social media explosion. But I never actually thought about a community of other people that are doing this as well. And then around 2011, I changed jobs, and I remember I guess I wasn't happy with the new job that I was at. And I remember my wife saying, well, you're into retro. Why don't you go on social media and see if anyone is into this stuff? And I thought, you must be kidding me. Are you serious? And I remember we were on holiday, and we had some time to kill. And she said, look, just start up, go on Twitter. And I thought, Twitter? What am I going to see there? And anyway, I got on there, and it was the best thing ever. I met so many wonderful people online and also in person over the years, and people that I actually call my really good friends. And yeah, it's been an amazing ride. So from 2011, end of 2011, when I got on,
Yeah.
I just could not believe that there were so many people that were into these old games and the nostalgia of it and just talking about it. And it's amazing that even playing with them, you play for about 5-10 minutes and then talk about old games for the next 4 or 5 hours. It's just brilliant, and there's always a smile on your face, reminiscing
Yeah, well,
about.
that's the thing is I think with many people when they look at something nostalgic, they're thinking, does anyone remember this TV show? Is it just me, or this video game, and is that it? It's and then then you find out there's lots of people that are interested. You just haven't made contact with them. But it's interesting that you mentioned America's Cup. I have not thought about that game in maybe 35 years. But I remember when that came out, how popular it was, and being at someone's house and they were playing it and they'll go, oh, I'm tacking. And I think a lot of people I think younger generations probably won't realize the impact of Australia winning the America's Cup at that point. And then, a game of just yacht racing may not be a top seller now, but at that point, every kid wanted to be like John Bertrand and win that
Exactly.
race. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I remember and the reason I had that game is because my parents got me the Commodore 64 America's Cup family pack. And I think the America's Cup was coming to Fremantle in '87.
Yeah.
So when I got that, there was international soccer on cart, Le Mans on cart with the paddles, and How's That? Arnie Armchair, How's That? Cricket on tape, and Arnie Armchair's America's Cup Challenge on tape. And even though they took ages to load, playing even playing one game of America's Cup would take a couple of hours because you'd actually do the full course, and you have to pull up the spinnaker and whatnot. And I broke so many joysticks putting up the spinnaker because you have to actually turn really, really quickly on the actual joystick to put the spinnaker up, right?
Yeah.
I went through so many joysticks, and back then what I used to do was I would take the joystick apart, clean the contacts, put it back together, and it worked. I was like, oh wow.
Right.
It wasn't easy. Like, I'd love to go and get a $30 joysticks back then. Like the Quick Shot 2s were awesome, but unfortunately, there was too many things that were a little bit too expensive back then. So I had to make do what I had, and clean things and take things apart and see if I can fix them myself. But it was all part of the fun.
Yeah, I've still got all my Quick Shot and Quick Shot 2 joysticks. They were great, and it was, for a lot of people, it was the go-to joystick to go to. It was the one that, if you went to someone's house, it would be a Quick Shot, and you'd get either simple one with the red button at the top and the red on the base, or then you got
that's the one I had.
Then you'd see the ones that were a lot more like a fighter jet kind of look. Big red buttons, all black. Well, they're both black, but it was bigger. And I was lucky enough to have both. But it was. I think you went to someone's house and you went, oh, that's a Quick Shot. It was. It had the market.
It definitely did. It definitely. Anywhere where I went and played, someone always had either the Quick Shot or the single button one, or that red one with the red base. With the turbo fire, the auto fire.
Yes.
So they were predominantly the two joysticks that, especially in the mid '80s, that anyone that I played with, they would have. So Quick Shots, and they're still going strong. Actually, my ones are still working amazingly enough.
And the amazing thing is if you go back, it's like those joysticks, controllers back then, it'd be like the equivalent of a mouse now. It's like they all plugged into any device, just like a mouse with a USB plugs into anything. These days you've got that many different consoles, well, even over the last so many years, and none of them are compatible with each other. But back then it was like you could have an Amstrad or a Commodore 64, or in some ways, an early IBM compatible, and they would plug, into the side or in the back or whatnot.
The ports were interchangeable. So the DB9, which Atari, I think Atari 2600 started. And it went on. Like I remember using my joysticks on the Atari ST and on the Amiga 500 as well. So it
Mm.
was great. You didn't have to, buy joysticks for the newer systems that you got.
Mm.
So that was very, very helpful, I guess,
Yeah.
as a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like is like I had a one Amstrad CPC 128, and they only had one port for a joystick. But what they did to get around it, you'd have one joystick, and you could put daisy chain. You could put another one into that joystick and go to the next one.
Okay.
But if we were playing games like like California games or winter games, there was ghosting. So sometimes, so you'd go left, and if they went right,
Oh.
your character would start to move, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And it would happen. And as the joysticks got older, it did it a lot more. So 2-player games, you'd eventually just going, no, I'm not playing the 2-player version. I'm going to stick 1-player
Wow.
because of ghosting. So, well, if you had a Commodore 64, you of course instantly had 2 ports.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I actually didn't know that about the 6128. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very frustrating.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
Would
and
have caused a
also
lot of
and also a lot of the ports. Some of the ports for the Amstrad were not good. For the as in game ports, when they brought them over. Like, I was speaking to Sean yesterday about Outrun, and how much impact that had. And I had the Amstrad version of Outrun, and it was upgraded, I think, like just the Spectrum, so it was almost like vector graphics, and it only did that. That's it. And it
oh
moved, as
wow.
opposed to nice free flowing that you would see more on a
Wow.
64 or Amiga.
Why did you go the Amstrad? Can I ask?
Parents. My grandfather had a lot of Amstrads, and
Okay.
so he influenced my father to get an Amstrad, because I
Okay.
was like, I want to come on 64 because everyone else has it.
Of course. Yeah.
And he got an Amstrad, and he said, "Oh, look!" And I remember when it came in, I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, but it's got twice as much memory as the Commodore 64." I said, "Yeah," but over time, I was like, "Well, the ports are horrible." There was a lot of games that were actually really good, but a lot of the ports were horrible. And it's like, but I can't play that. And you go, but the discs are really small. Isn't that amazing? I go, yeah, but it doesn't make any difference to me. But that Amstrad got a good run for many years. So
Well, that's good.
and we stayed with it. The family stayed with the Amstrads for a while. So was it Sir Sugar in the UK?
Yeah.
Great
Yeah. Mr.
Amstrad.
Alan Sugar. Yeah.
Yeah, he would have loved us.
Yeah.
So in our family, because there were Amstrads everywhere. So
Wow.
and there was only a few people. There was actually 2 people in my year who lived kind of in my street that had a 128K as well, and another one had a 464, the tape one.
Oh,
So
wow.
all of a sudden, it was like, oh, there's 3 of us now, and I was like, I got really excited because I thought, oh, great, we'll be able to swap games, and like they both had a game each, and I was like,
Oh dear.
so yeah.
So
So
there's no schoolyard. So there's no schoolyard swapping of tapes
not really, no,
or discs.
no,
Yeah.
not
Fair
really,
enough.
no. It was more my grandfather doing that. So, but that's another story. But
Fair enough.
so tell me about well, you can bring up the Instagram account, so because you've also got
Yeah.
a website, and what else do you have? Is that the key ones that you have?
Yeah. So there's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, website as well. Look, mainly when I started sharing this stuff on social media, it was pretty much more or less self-indulging, and I quickly found that others want to actually talk about these things that I put up, and that's how I started talking to a lot of people like Serbi as well, and it blew my mind that there was someone out there that actually liked the Atari Jaguar. I thought, wow, what? So that was amazing, and people all over the world. It was great. I thought, if I meet 1 or 2 people, would be great. But yeah, from America, from Europe, UK, Australia, obviously, it has been a great experience sharing with people and talking about these things. So the fact that it actually generates conversation, I think, is wonderful. Wonderful.
And that's the other thing is like, you know, it helps with your own passion for, you know, uh, retro video games, you know, your love of pinball and even, you know, vintage toys, you know, having that sort of thing and still having that interest and then being able to share that with others. And so you've got that, you know, communication. And also the other thing is like the community, you know, it's, uh, most, well, everyone I've come across, you know, that are into this, you know, quite nice and very approachable because it's like everyone's excited to go, oh yeah, I like that too, and that was part of this, and this is what I'm doing now, and also seeing all the other things that continue on to you know, feed into, you know, this sort of you know, retro fascination that even comes over to now. So yeah, and then you've got an image there of your some of your pinballs.
Yeah, yeah. Pinball was an interesting one. I remember playing pinball in the mid 80s. One of the first machines I played was Pinbot. And then I really got into more of the arcade scene and sort of lost interest in pinball. And then, yeah, in 2011, 2012, went up to Queensland, went to Time Zone, and I saw a brand new pinball machine. I thought, what, they're still making pinball machines? And yeah, I played and I got the bug back really badly. And I thought, I really, really love pinball. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love video games as well, but pinball just bit me so hard that I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I could not believe that. I thought it died back in the 90s. But no, it's, yeah, Stern survived after all other pinball machine or other pinball manufacturers closed down. So it was good of them to actually keep going. And yeah, I played AC/DC was the machine that got me back. Played that in, yeah, Time Zone or the old Grundys on in Service Paradise.
Yes.
And I saw Metallica as well, and I thought, okay, this is really, really good. And yeah, and from then it was just like, I really need to buy a pinball machine. The first one I bought was Pinbot, which I no longer have, but that just brought back a lot of memories going, you know, to fish and chip shops back in the 80s, playing pinball machines. And well, I only had one usually, and usually a Galaga machine or something of that ilk back then. Yeah, so
well, you
really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, for those of you who are out there that don't actually follow you or have never seen you before on Instagram, you know, tell us about the you know, some of your pennies that you have.
Okay, so I've got a I'll scroll down to well, that's one view of it, but where was that photo? Yeah, there it is. So this is the current lineup. There's a Star Wars comic art Star Wars premium machine. So that one we got in early May. It's a newer Stern. I played Star Wars a few years ago, and look, I'll be honest, I wasn't impressed with it at all. And lo and behold, just like a video game with DLC, well, in this instance, they update the actual software on the game, and it actually changed the actual rule set and the style of game as well. So I went from really disliking the game, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, to absolutely loving it. And I thought, well, I've got to have this machine now. So that's been played quite a lot in the last couple of months. And in the back there's a Walking Dead. And the story behind that is my wife and I are both huge, or we were huge fans. We haven't watched it for a few seasons now. And for her 40th, I thought, I'm going to surprise her with the Walking Dead machine, because when we were up in Queensland, she kept on playing it. And I thought, well, okay, that means she likes this game. So I'm going to try and look for it and buy it. So that was lovely to have it all set up when she came after work. Yeah, went in the room and it was on. So it was a great experience. So yeah, that one's definitely not going anywhere for a long, long time. And the one next to that is an Attack from Mars, which is a remake of a machine that was quite popular back in the mid-90s, a Bally Williams machine. That I got in 2017, and it harks back to the mid-90s when pinball was really on a massive roll with the Addams Family, Medieval Madness, and Attack from Mars. Yeah. Look, everyone remembers the Addams Family. Every time you mention pinball to people, that's the one that they remember. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember Addams Family. And look, it's the biggest selling pinball machine, sold over 22,000 machines, which for pinball is a lot.
it's a great pinball to play, because it's one that I've always found to be a favorite. Just loved every aspect of it. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
and look, they are still highly sought after, and unfortunately they're extremely expensive because everyone wants them.
Yeah, that kind of falls into that same category as like the '70s Kiss pinball machine that people
Mm-hmm.
want, or maybe the Hugh Hefner Playboy one. That people just like, they like that because of the history of that, but also Kiss. So yeah. So, and you've got you've also got a big collection of kind of like handheld games too, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. Look, obviously the game and watch I love, and any of those tabletops, which Donkey Kong Jr. is one of my favourites. And I've got that in Cement Factory. Interesting story about those. I got contacted, and again through social media, I got contacted by a friend saying, "Oh, I've got a friend that's actually leaving, or they're going to move into state, and they want to get rid of all this stuff." And I called up Serby, and yeah, went over to his place, and what turned into buying one or two things, yeah, it was a big clean out. Serby took the lion's share.
Yeah.
Amazing. He had these a Donkey Kong Jr. He had a cement factory, and they were absolutely in mint condition. I thought I got to get these because they're so hard to find in such great condition. And I'm looking at it, I can see that it's great.
Yeah.
And he had a few laser discs as well, and bought those as well. And yeah, Mega Drive games and Sega Saturn, and yeah, it was amazing that we actually, the car was chockers. I could not look at the out past the rear view mirror, and yeah, I think Serby had to go back a few times to actually take the stuff out of this guy's house. So
Yeah.
yeah, and obviously the Atari Lynx. I'm a huge Atari Lynx fan, and I've got about 12 Atari Lynx. I know that's crazy.
Yeah, because you and
But
Serby have a fair few, because you like to do the multiplay.
yeah, yeah. Look, the actual max you can have is 8, but I like to have spares just in case because you never know. And yeah, look, when we play something like Slime World with 8 players, it's just amazing. And I know, obviously, you all have to be in the same room. You get the comics cables out and you play that. And I remember we played on a Retro Tuesday, and it was so much fun. And then we played California games, and it was phenomenal. And again, it just brought back memories to when I was a kid playing with friends, in the same room or my bedroom. Yeah, and you just, rib each other if you beat them, and yeah, it's just all in good fun. So definitely miss that. And but it's good to actually have things like Retro Tuesday to actually go and attend and bring those things to actually play like the way you used to back in the day.
Yeah. So yeah, because that's you being more mature gamers, because if you think about it, really home gaming has been around for at least 50 years now, if you want to go back to
Yeah.
pong games and people actually playing them in their house. But the big change with also has been you bringing a game over to a friend's house and you're playing. Well, a lot of that's changed. And even the whole idea of playing a locally, like a LAN in your house, or like even PC and that. A lot of all the new stuff now doesn't allow you to that. You need to you can do multiplayer, but you've got to use the internet. You've got to go through their servers.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, look, I definitely prefer to have someone with me in the same room. I just get more fun out of that because you can actually have I know you can also chat online as well, but there's something about someone being with you and just experiencing that in the moment. And that's something that you can't really have when you're talking to someone, thousands of k's away. So
it's an
enjoyable.
experience. Like I remember one of the great experiences playing arcade machines. I remember the Terminator 2 arcade machine had just come out, and a friend of mine that we'd played it, and we said, no, we're going to go and we're going to beat it. We're going to finish it. And we took out a lot of coin. We took some whole heap of money out, went up to this time zone. This is in Sydney. And so we put $40 into this machine. So early 90s, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. Wow.
We beat it. And I remember we finished it and we walked away and we went, we're probably never going to play that game again. because we just pulled out. But we had a laugh. You know, we were playing it for ages, and yeah, it was just something like a challenge. Like, okay, let's do this. You know, let's see if we can do it. And yeah, I remember we had bags and bags of $2 coins and dollar coins, so we could keep on going. I think near the end of the game, I think that's where we were putting in a lot of money because we were just getting kills within like
Wow.
seconds.
Did you actually draw a crowd?
There was a
Was there
few
a crowd?
people there. It was
Yep.
actually because it was a weekday and we'd actually taken the day off work, so there wasn't many people around. So yeah, so we weren't really kind of like, you know, the late 70s, early 80s sort of like, you know, arcade parlor gods or anything like that. There was only a couple of people around. They were like, "Oh, that's all right," and we were like,
That's pretty cool. I know if I would have walked past and seen that, I would have definitely definitely hung around to see that.
We
for
felt
sure.
stupid, I think, for around 5 minutes at how much money we popped in, but then we were like, no, that was good. That was fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can't put a price on fun. So
Yeah.
good on you. Well done.
Yeah.
I was going to say I blame Serby for my Jaguar.
Mm.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't know anyone else was into the Jaguar. So when I found out that he was and he was so into it that I just got drawn into it as well, and I absolutely love the machine. So luckily I got the Jaguar stuff that I did back a few years ago, because now it's just priced. It'll be out of reach.
Yeah, and it's also very hard to find. Even
yeah.
And if like I've seen a couple of Jaguars or bits of Jaguars come up over the last 2 years, and it wasn't like everything. It was like, okay, we've got this, but it has no power supply or hasn't got this. So it wasn't something you could just go, oh, I bought it and go home and actually play. But, you know, they were asking hundreds of dollars. It was a lot. And it was like, if you were someone who was like, you just wanted to have one with maybe, you know, 3 games that you would think that were really good. It's a big investment if you can actually get one and get one that's, you know, that you know is going to work.
Unfortunately, yeah. And look, and when I actually started heavily buying stuff, it was around the time when the Australian dollar was on par with the US. So buying stuff from the US wasn't a big hassle, and plus there was no GST on secondhand goods back then. So yeah, I was buying all the Jaguar stuff, like the CD and most of the games from America, and it was good. I mean, it was still expensive, but right now there is no way I'll be able to get the stuff that I did back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And
so can you tell me a little bit about you know, when COVID's not happening, you know, about some of your meetups and, you know, the thing, what you do at PAX in Melbourne?
Yeah. Look, I love to go to the club meets that Serby introduced me, which was the Commodore Club Day, which is the last Sunday of each month, and also Retro Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday of every month. And unfortunately, even before COVID, I couldn't go because having a young child makes it quite difficult to get out. But prior to that, I just couldn't wait. You know, Retro Tuesday will be usually on after 7 o'clock, so it'd be perfect time straight after work. You go there and you meet up, and again, you play games, and then you probably spend the next few hours talking to people and just reminiscing about good old games. And same thing on the Sunday Commodore Club Day as well. Playing there and pretty much from the afternoon till late night and getting pizzas, and it's pretty much like I'm 15, 16 again, playing video games with mates and eating junk food and drinking a lot of Coke and all that good stuff. And look, PAX is our main event, and we've been doing PAX since it started in 2013 at the showgrounds. And I don't know if people remember, but back then, we were in the big top section at the showgrounds, and I remember it was in July and it was so cold and raining, and the actual roof actually got torn. And rain was streaming in, and they had people on scaffolds and trying to fix it all up. And I thought, man, it was really, really cold. We were right near all the food, so all our consoles reeked of donuts and chips, and I swear to you, my Neo Geo AES still smells like that, and that was 7 years ago. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, and then obviously they moved it to the Melbourne Convention Centre, which was, I think, a great move, and they moved the dates as well to October for a warmer month, which was which was, I think, a great move on PAX. And yeah, look, the actual classic gaming area has grown. It was purely just video games or old video games, and then we got approached by Scott Kellett, who said, "Look, would you be keen to do pinball machines?" And I thought to myself, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And he actually wrote an actual case to take to PAX. And I remember talking to PAX, and they said, "Yep, done. You should have pinball machines." Didn't need to convince them or anything like that. They gave us a bigger space, a bigger area. So yeah, it's just growing year on year. And the best thing for me, I guess, is people coming in, especially parents, with their kids, and you can see the parents being dragged along, obviously, from the main area of PAX, and then coming to the classic gaming area, and all of a sudden their eyes go wide open. It's like, oh wow, okay, now this is some stuff that I used to play. I know this. I know the Commodore. I know the Atari 2600 or the Super Nintendo. And it's just wonderful to see, and showing their kids, this is what I played on, and the kids taking interest in what their parents actually played back when they were their age, I guess. So
it's a major meeting point at the event, because a lot of people will say, look, I'll meet you there, or I'll everyone knows where it is. And even when I go to PAX each year, and people go, oh, so where will you be? And I'll go, you'll always find me in the retro area. If you can't, just wait 20 minutes or half an hour, and I'll make my way back there. If I go look at something else, I'll end up coming back there. So yeah, if you're ever going to find me, it's going to be around there. Even if it's just hanging around watching other people doing stuff. So it's a great area. And like I was saying to Serby in his interview, was about the last year with the television, the little portable TV that was playing the old gaming commercials and stuff. And
the 2600, 2600.
I thought that was brilliant, because I saw this kid come up and turn the channel to static, and I go, no, you got to put it back. But I was like, it was things like that I thought, that makes it extra special.
Yeah. Now look, PAX is obviously there's quite a few people involved. It's grown over the years, and it's actually hard work, I'll be honest. Like, we always begin to plan very early in the year. So even though the event's on in October, we probably start planning around March. And then things ramp up around August. And so Cameron Bond was the person that actually thought of the idea with the Bakelite TV with the Atari 2600 ad. So we've got Aaron from Tassie coming up with a retro, obviously, that actually commits, well, obviously being there and obviously bringing all their games and their consoles. We've got Bartronica with their arcade machines, and we've got Bayside Pinball, Zach's Amusements involved in the actual pinball section. And I'm probably missing a few people there, and if I have, I do apologise. But yeah, it takes a band of people putting that stuff together, and obviously everyone's doing it for the love. No one gets paid for it. Everyone brings their own equipment, and we allow thousands of people to get a bit of hit of nostalgia.
I think a lot of people find that amazing, shocking, and that's a big thing. Like, my events and so many other events and other activities, there's a perception by many that, oh, okay, so you're getting the big bucks to do it, and it's like, no, it's all voluntary. This is people doing it for the love of it. Just like this event, it's like, no, we're trying to raise money for charity, or we're trying to do, there's very kind of more community-based objectives. And I think, a lot of people are quite surprised, because I think, there's a lot of people think, oh, you're just doing it for monetary. And it's like, no, people are doing it because they want to do it. So,
exactly.
And when people do that, it's usually, 50 times better than something that was done for, some sort of monetary gain.
Absolutely. I know when people would come up and they thought it's equipment from PAX, and it's like, no, it's our equipment, and they just, you see their eyes just go, what? And they start shaking your hand. It's like, oh wow, thank you very much for bringing. And that's what we love. We love that, the fact that people, like their expectations are blown, you know, and the fact that you're actually bringing something for them to enjoy, and that just, that just puts a massive smile on our face and makes us want to come back year after year.
Yeah. So people can find you on different social media, and you've also got a website. I think you've got a tab up for that, have you? Or?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll bring that up.
Yep.
There it is. Look, we get a few people to contribute, but mainly it's again, it's an indulgence that I want to write about things that I'm interested in, and hopefully if people have similar interests, they'll have a read. And look, it's since the time I started, it's an outlet for me to write, and lately I haven't been able to actually put in a lot of time to write long pieces, which I used to. But hopefully, as our daughter grows older and I have a bit more time, I'd love to get back into writing longer pieces and doing interviews with people, from especially people from my childhood that are online now and they're willing to be interviewed. So it's great. It's great. So and again, it's a source of people to actually come and actually see what we're about and what we do, and also to contact us as well. So I personally love the engagement people. So if the vehicle for that is our website or social media, then awesome.
Now, when you look at the archive, like you scroll down back, do you ever look at it and go, "Wow, I've been doing it for this long"?
Yeah, I do, and I look, and I'm thinking, how did I do 235 articles in a year?
That's a lot.
And then as you see, and then you see it starts to drop off because our daughter came into our world. So, look, I honestly thought that, look, even if I do 100 in a year, it'll be okay. But being able to squeeze in a few pieces here and there, and like I said, the longer pieces take a long time to actually write, and obviously edit. Photos is another thing. I love to add a lot of photos to my stories. So that actually takes a bit of time as well. So
I've met people I consider friends through you. I've never physically met them. Like we were mentioning about Sean before, and a few others. I've kind of found it through your writings, and it's like, oh well, okay, I saw this, and then make contact with that person in America, and it's like, oh well, we're kind of friends now, for years, but I've never actually physically met them. But it's interesting reading an article and going, wow, that really speaks to me, and that's someone I'd like to probably check out more of. So you do a fantastic job.
you've just made my day, Andrew. Thank you very much. That is lovely to hear. That is awesome. And that's what it's all about. So thank you very much. That's great feedback. And that's what I hope happens. And it's great to hear that it's brought people together. So
but it's always a good read. So when you're posting something, either you're putting the links up on Twitter or somewhere else. It's like, okay, I think I've got a few minutes now. I can flick back. I can flick over to it and go, okay. I want to see about someone who's doing, custom action figures in America, or someone else who's doing dioramas, or even you guys just talking about your meetups. It's you have a read and have a look at it and go, oh, okay, that's okay. If I wouldn't have read that article, I probably would never have known about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I remember when we interviewed you, when you did your action figures, and it was people like, oh wow, and well, I love finding people that are amazing like yourself. And when I saw what you did, it's like, man, I really want to tell the people that I know about this stuff because it's awesome. And
Well, that's the thing. It's like I don't see it as being amazing at all, and I think that's what other creators see it in the same way. But it's more of like, okay, you're doing something that's your passion, and then it just happens to be you're doing it because you enjoy it, and you'll know, and just like we've seen with many people around the world, that they do it, and it kind of speaks to someone else and go, wow, that's exactly I like that too, or that's really good. It's I think it's really good for people who are interested in this sort of genre, that you may go down to a a shopping center and something and walk around, and there is nothing there that actually kind of ticks your interest. But then you jump online and the social media in these communities, and then you go, oh wow, look at that, look at that, look at that. Or why didn't that company do that 40 years ago or 30 years ago? I would have been all over that. Or it's like, wow, it's like what you mentioned before about America's Cup. I've not thought about that game in like 35 years. As soon as you mentioned it, I had like flashbacks of that game. And even I remember the ads on television. I was like, wow, I'm thinking in the interview, I've not thought about this in ages. But yeah, it reconnects people with different things. And I think that if you can do things that are going to be exciting and interesting and fill that gap that you need in your life, it's a great thing. Like, look at all those team members you've got there.
Yeah. So that's the team behind PAX. Yeah. And look, the enforcers that we get every year are absolutely amazing folks as well. So they look after our thing. Obviously, we can't be at every table and every console. And look, I would say I can't recall anyone having issues with anyone. People, respectful with the actual joystick controllers, the games, and the actual consoles themselves. But I was watching over our stuff because really, if they've done very, very hard to replace, so and they're getting quite expensive. So if the longer they work, the longer we can bring them down to events like PAX for them to be played. So I love looking at photos like this one, of people sitting down enjoying and just seeing a crowd. It's literally crowded from the Friday start all the way to Sunday, and by the end of it, we're very, very exhausted because they're very, very long days. But we're all happy. Look at that. We're all smiling, even though we probably had zero sleep for 3 days, but it's always fun. So
that's great.
Yeah, and it's always special to have my family there as well. So that's good stuff.
So one thing I ask all our everyone I kind of talk to is like, what's your favorite movies and or TV shows that you actually watch when you do get time?
Look, right now I'm watching Star Trek, The Next Generation. I've watched all these before, but I'm rewatching Star Trek Next Generation, finished watching Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, Voyager, Discovery, the new one. But I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So I can rewatch the original trilogy, which I've probably countless times, and I just can't get sick of it. I just love it. So Star Wars is my first love when it comes to movies, and even the new ones that came out. I know people weren't happy with them. I loved them. To be honest, I'll be honest. I love them. I enjoy them for what they are. And look, and
well, in the end, that's all that matters. It's like I have my opinions on many different films and stuff, but it doesn't mean that to that person, that their opinion is wrong or anything else. If you enjoyed it and you liked whatever it is, it's like I can sit down with friends and one could say they think Blade Runner is overrated and just ridiculous, and then I'll go, no, I really like Blade Runner. I think it's great and all that sort of stuff. And then sit down and go, oh yeah, but we both love like Defenders of the Crown or Rocket Ranger from the Cinemaware classic things, and go, yeah, and we're all like, yeah, we all like that. So that's in the end, it's comes down to your own enjoyment. You see some of it, I think, with social media where someone shares their opinion. We're like, oh, I don't really like this or like that. And then people seem to get offended. But it's like, well, you shouldn't be offended. It's like, okay, they didn't like it or they liked it. In the end, what does it matter? So,
yeah, absolutely. Look, there's always constructive criticism.
Yeah. And you should
constructive criticism is welcome. But
look, I'm happy just happy that you got something you can follow. So, yeah. It's like
absolutely. So, look,
I played that for a long time. So sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I was going to say, well, whereas someone else will go, oh, no, I didn't like that game at all. Well, that's good. Maybe it was something else that you like that I may like. When, the variety is I guess the best part. So something that I may not like, you'll like, and that's good. It means that we've all got choice, and yeah, I like to have a constructive discussion with people and to understand why they may not like something. And yeah, I listen because it's like, oh, okay, all right, I can understand why, but it doesn't mean it changes my opinion. Like I really enjoyed the last Star Wars flick, and a lot of people didn't. And so be it.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like it's stories and things. So it's like people's in different interpretations or of things they played or involved with, or also people see connections. So like when Serby and I were talking about the game Gauntlet, you know, he said that he liked being the green elf, and I'd say, well, I used to always play the barbarian, and the reason why is because I used to treat the game, it was basically Master Universe, that barbarian was He-Man, you know, the Valkyrie was Teela, you know, Black Death, that was Skeletor, you know, you know, and I put it from that, and he was like, oh, that's a very interesting take to think of it, that, you know, Gauntlet was basically, you know, He-Man. I was like, well, it's like, you know, as a kid, you kind of go, oh, these games aren't available, but I'm going to, in my mind, he's this one. But and it's interesting listening to different people have, you know, different stories, and I find those sort of stories are also very interesting.
The imagination, and when I heard that part of the interview, I was just nodding, thinking, yep, I was doing the same thing with Golden Axe. I you know, the warrior was He-Man, and and the Amazonian was Teela. So yeah, I was doing similar things. So when I heard that, I thought, wow, yes. It's amazing. Yeah, imagination's wonderful.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So thanks very much for, you know, sharing your time and that. So we for those who are watching the TGF stream through New Game Plus TV's Twitch account, if you also check the TGF Facebook page, and also in the feed for Twitch, we're going to have links up there. So if you want to check out more to do with Australian Retro Gamer, whether you want to check out their website or you want to follow them on Twitter or Instagram. And if you're watching this through the Cause and Effect Gamers YouTube channel a few weeks later, we're going to have all the details, the ways you can contact and follow Australian Retro Gamer in the description. So on behalf of TGF, I'd like to say thank you very much for sharing your time. It's good to see you. It's great to see you.
You too. Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, thanks for being part of it and kind of sharing what you do. And hopefully there'll be people out there that kind of go, when all this other business finishes up, that they'll start turning up to like the Retro Tuesdays and maybe even see things like PAX.
Can't wait. Thanks again, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Thank you.